welcome to Chapter Select, the book club for video games. Here today to discuss The Evil Within, the second out of 3 parts of our playthrough of The Evil Within. Myself, Jens, and my good friend, Randy. Hi, Randy.
Yeah, it's my fault that I made us a liar. These chapters got long. Like, really long compared to the first few. I'm like, oh yeah, I can go from Chapter 7 all the way to the end with Chapter 15 in 2 weeks, no problem.
You know, it makes them especially long.
Chapters like,
stumbling around for hours at a time, lost. That's what I've been doing with my time.
You got lost?
Yeah.
Where did you get lost?
Chapter 10.
Hold on. What part did you get lost in Chapter 10?
The incredibly obvious part with the blades, the spinny blades. I did not get that there was a part of the spinny blades where there was no wire fencing. So I stumbled around for a very long time.
Oh, so you're talking like that little maze that would just
making
drop
that
down?
The fact that you could leap over that one part of the maze is something
you can shoot them too, right? Defense parts.
Can you?
Well, there's parts that have locks on them.
Oh, not that. Not the fence maze.
Okay, so you're thinking of a different thing.
No. I'm talking about the maze that's underneath the blades at the beginning of Chapter 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, something about the level design in this has been like my kryptonite, where I'm constantly turning myself around and losing my place. Even though it's very linear. That's the really frustrating thing about it, is you then, as soon as you realize your mistake, you just realize, oh my god, I'm such a moron.
Yep, I've said that multiple times on multiple bosses. We will get there. And actually, let's start there.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do any more of, like, controls or schemes.
Nope.
If you want to listen to what we thought about how this game plays in general...
Nope, we can jump right into Chapter 7, The Keeper.
We'll touch on it here and there, of course. But Chapter 7, The Keeper, I just want to get right to that boss fight. Because that boss fight is fantastic, and I think it's fantastic because I played it 10 times longer than anyone ever needs to play that boss fight.
I also
so basically, you have this like dude with a safe on his head that just slowly comes after you, and you shoot him enough where he falls down, and he gets pissed off, and he sets off gas, and then you have to knock him down again to do the whole valves things, which, again, I will give credit to this game as far as foreshadowing that part, because they teach you how to do the whole, you have to turn this stuff to make the gas go away. Yeah, because you need to do that
later with Laura,
so
the spider lady.
Yes. Oh, God, that boss fight, too. The boss fights in this game.
Yep, they're good.
If everything else around it was good, this game would be fantastic. But, so after you do the whole different valves to take out the poison, I don't know what happens, because I wasn't paying attention apparently, but you knock him down again, and I guess this area opens up that you then exit, and then you drop this thing on his head. I never saw that happen. It happened off screen for me. I guess I did not hear the big crash, mostly because my strategy was to use the explosive bolts.
Mm-hmm.
So things were exploding all of the time, which also is why I died so many times on this boss, was because I would shoot him with an explosive bolt, and that was right when he decided to run right at me, and then I would just blow up. But for whatever reason, that was a strategy I wanted to use. I think it was a strategy that they wanted you to, because he drops these mines all over the place, and if you can get away long enough, you could disable them and get more crafting parts. But I've had issues as far as trying to find keys and getting enough of the goop to level up. I forgot to get the goop after the first spider lady. So I knew I was behind in that stuff. I definitely caught up with that boss, because every time you knock him down, you can get goop for like 1,000 goop points. And I knocked him down 8 or 9 times. I went until I was out of ammo.
Wow.
And then I ran out of ammo.
It's funny because I was
going to say, I ran around and got enough mines to knock him down one more time, and then was like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. How many times do you have to kill him? So I'm looking around, because you can see these little safes that are around this section of the map, and that's where he will come up from when you knock him out. So I'm like trying to count how many more are left on the ground. And all of a sudden I looked, and there's this whole big open area that wasn't there before. So I paused the game, said a bunch of cuss words, and then finished the boss fight. I knocked him down 8 or 9 more times than I should have.
Wow, yeah, listening to that description just makes me realize that I've been somewhat learning deficient with this game, because I actually, with the box head, I mostly just evaded him. And that worked out pretty well, and I didn't really focus on killing him until the very end. So I constrained my resources very well with that boss fight, and it wasn't actually a huge struggle. Whereas later with the Spider Lady, I did exactly all the stuff that you just said you did with Boxhead.
And the funny thing is, I did everything you just said with Boxhead with the Spider Lady.
Oh, no.
So
Oh, wait, you evaded her. You ran away from her.
I evaded and made sure I was shooting her with the fire stuff. And
Did you kill her?
No.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. All right. So, but we're still on Boxhead, and we're still on Chapter 7. Chapter 7, so Boxhead is kind of, he's this guy, he'll chase you around an area as you're trying to, open up these valves to progress, and if he catches up to you, he'll insta-kill you. And you can shoot him down, as Randy says, and he'll go down for a while, then he'll eventually respawn. And at the very end, you crush him in like one of those spike trap type things.
I do want to say real quick, because we went right to the boss, but I liked Chapter 7.
That's what, yeah.
In general,
it was a good...
Because you had the two branching paths that you had to do. You had to do both, but you can pick which one you wanted to start with. And they had some really good puzzles in there, I thought. I was a little disappointed they used those enemies that we talked about last time where you had to kill them. There weren't sneaking around and stealth killing them at all, but there weren't enough to really drive me mad. I'm still frustrated that this turned into a shooter more than anything, but I liked the layout of it and just the way everything was presented in the chapter. I thought this was the first chapter I went, okay, all right, game, I'm into this. And there's a couple more chapters that we'll get to that I'm turning a corner with this game a little bit.
We should say this level is Catacombs, and it is kind of a labyrinthine level, but it has a central door where you have a big panel that you need to complete by slotting some tablets into. So it's like you gotta, go, as you said, it's somewhat non-linear, where you can do it in whatever order. You can procure the tablets from various corners of the catacombs, bring them back, deal with even, I think there was a minor boss at some point.
I can't remember. I don't think so, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, no, there's not. I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of I still cannot believe that the Spider Lady was not the final encounter.
We'll get to Chapter 10, but at Chapter 10, I thought that there was like 5 different moments where I thought that was the end of the chapter.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking about Chapter 10. But yeah, Chapter 7 is just kind of a cool, felt like a Resident Evil 5 or 6 style catacomb with light Resident Evil type puzzle solving, find the thing to slot into the hole, to open the door, that kind of thing. What you would expect. Some getting rid of poison gas so you can traverse certain areas. Just like later, it's going to make you get rid of fire so you can traverse certain areas. The game certainly has, it continues to be firmly in the Resident Evil 4 mold and onwards of things.
Yes.
And I like it, okay.
9, I think Chapter 9 was the moment I went, oh, Resident Evil, welcome.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Chapter 7. There's a bunch of keys in Chapter 7. Bunch of statues with keys inside you can find. Secret stash rooms.
I'm so bad at finding these. I'm now looking at stuff just to remind myself of what these chapters are, and they're saying keys and stuff. I may have found 4 total.
Did he not even get the one in the morgue? Or no, the big statue, the Maria statue?
What?
Oh, there's like a stash room.
There's a statue in there?
Yeah, there's like a giant statue, as opposed to the little statues.
Oh, well, I will get that next time I play.
Okay.
I even missed one. We keep jumping back to Chapter 10, because Chapter 10 is so long. I missed one in Chapter 10 where you go underneath this spike ceiling, and then you can't pull out your gun for whatever reason while you're crawling in there. So then I came out and it shut. Oh, God damn it. But it was just sitting there under this ceiling of spikes. I'm like, oh, I gotta get this really quick. And then I just ran out of time. I didn't care enough to reload.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so bad with the keys. I'm so glad that there's nothing ridiculous in those things. At least that's what I think. It's just extra ammo and goop.
Lots of goop. You gotta get that goop. If you kill Spider Lady, you get 8,000 goop. It's pretty good goop.
It's a good goop level. It's not the most goop level. We'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. No, but next
So-
chapter 8, A Planted Seed Will Grow.
I don't remember any of this chapter.
No? Lots of story stuff. Lots of not Anthony Hopkins doctor. And his Dr. Frankensteining. So he's just... All I've really figured out... And there's more sequences of him later. And eventually Ruvik kills him. Or he gets smooshed by a monster that Ruvik summons or seemingly summons. And you just... All I know is that he was doing experiments. And that Ruvik was both the subject in some cases, but also the mastermind, it seems, from that one cutscene. Or am I way off?
No, I think you're right.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember where the mansion's chapter 9. Okay. But I remember there was a lot of expose when you're in the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
So I've mixed those two together in my head. Because chapter 8 wasn't very long. There wasn't a ton in there. There was a chase scene and stuff.
Yeah, but the rocks falling, monsters chasing you.
Yeah, so some of the story deposition that goes in chapter 8, I put into chapter 9. And that's actually where the story itself is starting to win me over.
Really?
Not as far as it being a good story, but as like it's making a bit more sense as this Ruvik character.
I would love to hear, can you I do not know if I understand it correctly. Can you elaborate on what is actually happening with Ruvik and with the Anthony Hopkins doctor?
Okay, so from what I understand, this Ruvik character and his sister get locked away a long time ago in a barn, and I guess the people that live in that town are upset with the rich family that just moved in, and we're going to send them a message by burning the barn, and ignored the fact that there were 2 children inside. And so Ruvik burns almost to death, which is why he has all of the wrappings and stuff on him when you do see him. And his sister does die. So that sets him into an evil rage, which I don't know how he's gotten the powers yet. I don't know if they've divulged that or I've just missed it.
Interesting.
But now this doctor has been... what's the word I'm looking for?
Experimenting on him?
No, not that. Not as much that. I think he's been supplying him with things. I don't think he even was really experimenting with Ruvik. There was a scene. I want to say it was chapter 9, maybe it's chapter 10, where Ruvik is the one doing all the experimenting.
That's true, but is he not also experimenting on himself? But he also is just talking about others, I guess, at that point. But there's just stuff. Isn't there stuff in chapter 8 where we first see the Frankenstein type lab? And the doctor's talking about his
I think the doctor is trying to experiment on these other people to figure out how to get into Ruvik's mind and back out. There's that scene in chapter 9, maybe it's chapter 10, where you meet up with the kid again who looks like Ruvik, kind of. Who I'm blanking on his name. The crazy kid. And the doctor has him all hooked up to the things, and it looks like they're about to go back to normalcy as they kind of get shown in a normal lab. And he thinks, okay, we finally broken through, and then it falls through, and then here comes that big giant monster because he wants into the real world. So I think it was more of a partnership than anything. And then Ruvik takes it too far, and the doctor gets out of it. And now the doctor's trying to solve a way to stop Ruvik. I think, we'll see how these last 5 chapters go, but that's where I'm at so far. So I think Ruvik is so overcome with rage from seeing his sister die and is taking it out on everyone else. And I don't know how he's gotten that power yet, or if he's technically alive, or if he's just a spirit now. I think he's a spirit. But maybe we're just in his head and he's just sitting there in a hospital room somewhere. And now the doctor is experimenting on him now that they have him locked up. There's still many pieces missing. I do like the story of the main character now. Have you been reading the journals before you go into the mirrors?
No.
I've read some of them and I want to go back and read them. And I suggest you do the same because it makes a lot more sense. So,
I just know you're a cop who shows up at the hospital and then shit gets weird. And what's her name? Carnahan? Castellano? Castellano.
But
we
your character...
We didn't even name him in our first episode on this game.
I don't care that much. But you're a character that...
Sebastian Castellanos.
Seb is what the one guy keeps calling.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
But basically, to even get into these mirrors and these save rooms, you have to pick up this red notebook, and then that breaks the mirror or whatever. But that story is really interesting and kind of sad, as he was involved in a fire at his home and lost his daughter that way. He was able to get out. She was not. His wife has gone a bit crazy over it. So the two stories are kind of intertwining a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see what all happens there. And if there's like a connection between these characters somehow, or if fire is just a big proponent of things. So, again, it's one of those where it just doesn't make a ton of sense yet, but I'm hoping by the end it all kind of pieces together. I mean, obviously it helps if you read those notes that you get.
Yes, well, that's on me, I guess.
I don't. We talked about it last episode. You're not one of those people, but I will say they're very short.
Okay.
They're shorter than the Resident Evil notes that you get in those older games.
I'm not a codex kind of person. If you want me to pay attention to your story, put it in the game.
Yeah, honestly, they're probably half a page.
Okay.
Each. So they're not terribly long. They're not like I'm trying to think of a game, Mass Effect stuff, where it's like, here's 10 pages if you want to learn about this one kind of species or anything like that. It's a quick little story that kind of connects things together. So the story's getting better. The bosses are fantastic. I want to get to Chapter 9, because Chapter 9 is my favorite chapter in the game. And it's just because it reminds me of Resident Evil. Of course, it's in the mansion. So I'm like, boom, all right, here we go. Even the stairways are kind of like the main hallway in the original Resident Evil. I think they misstepped a little bit, though, because this is where you start getting some puzzly stuff, where you have to figure out where to poke these brains.
Oh, I like the brain stuff.
I love the brain. Those are the puzzles that I love from the original Resident Evil. Just the ridiculousness of them.
Well, you gotta kind of look over to a little chart, a little drawn chart on the side, and use that for reference to figure out where to stick the needle. And if you stick the needle in the wrong place, you get a little damage, and it goes, which is great.
And you get damaged a little bit.
Yes,
which is I liked. But so I liked that they're a little puzzly, and there wasn't a lot of enemies to it. But there's a couple, I think, scripted moments with Rubik where he pops up and you have to run away and hide in a closet or something, because if he touches you, you just die, which I learned the hard way.
Yes.
But that intensity, that really ramped up my intensity, because there's very few enemies around. I think you kill 3 or 4 throughout the entire little mini mansion in there. And Rubik shows up 2 or 3 different times. So, like, the whole time I'm playing, I'm, like, checking out every room, making sure I'm collecting everything I need to. I'm sure I missed keys.
That was another thing that it drove me crazy. Ruvik insta-killed me, like, 5 or 6 times in a row on that level. And he keeps, there's, like, several segments. There are a couple of parts. Every time you go to one of the brains, you're safe for a little while. But as soon as you back out, and I'm, again, me, I'm stumbling around trying to find my way because I've got no sense of direction. And the longer you're stumbling around, the more likely Ruvik is, going to show up again and insta-kill you and throw you back to the beginning of the whole sequence.
Well, luckily you're faster than him. You just got to kind of remember. I mean, obviously it sucks if you get lost, but
yeah.
So I mean, that's where my tension was ramped up, because like, all right, here's a closet. So if he shows up, I have to go here. This is where I have to go. And I have to make sure I get there without him seeing me go in there, or I'm sure they'll do that cutscene where he pulls you out and then eats your face. I died by the fucking spike wall or spike thing that you get pulled into. It took me 2 times to realize that there was a big flipping red light on top of it to shoot. So I was just sitting there going, what am I doing? What's happening?
That's fine. I did not realize that I needed to shoot a valve on top of the that corridor where all the fire spouting. The incinerator. When you get caught in the incinerator, that got me the first time because I was too dumb to look up. Apparently,
I'm so glad that we find different ways to screw up in this game.
This is a tale of. I'm telling you, this game, man, I'm dying. So I feel legitimately incompetent playing this game. I don't feel that way often in video games, unless I'm playing like something that's totally out of my wheelhouse, like a fighting game or something.
Oh yeah, I've died a ton.
Yeah, and I keep running into those stupid booby traps. Like during the fight with the spider lady, there is like one booby trap which is just around the corner from where one of the fire spouts is that you open up to damage her.
I know what you're talking about.
Man, that has blown me up at least 5 or 6 times.
I try to use those to my advantage sometimes when I know I'm not going to have time to disarm them.
They're great. They do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But of course, it doesn't matter until the very end.
Yeah.
That boss fight is like the box set boss fight, except that basically you can't do anything against her until the very end. There are way more phases to it. It's harder, and then at the end, the trick is that there are corpses lying around which act as her respawn points. So you have to destroy her respawn points before you can really kill her.
Yeah, I didn't go that far. I learned a trick on accident that if you knock her down and she goes for another respawn point, if you set it on fire, like the moment she starts to appear, it instantly takes her out. So I was trying to do that just to give myself more time, but my whole plan in that boss fight was to take out the spouts and clear the path as quickly as possible, which I really liked that boss fight for how fast she moves, but how much time you still have at moments, because she'll give you that. The boss fight at the end of chapter 10 does that same thing. Like, it's on you so fast, but then its motion gives you time to react. So I thought it was fair, and I never felt like, this boss is just so cheap and just killing me left and right. It's like anytime I died, it's my fault.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I'll admit that there are probably oral cues that I miss sometimes, especially with the beeping of those bombs.
Oh yeah.
Because I'll be distracted listening to a podcast or something. I'll fully admit that I'm undercutting the horror a little bit by listening to other stuff while I'm playing this.
Oh, you're marking this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just not...
And I'm the exact opposite, where I felt like I was going to be in that same boat as you are right now, but Chapter 9 and 10 have not turned me to saying this is a good game or a great game, but this is a competent game.
Right, but I mean, you've got to understand, once you're on like your second hour of running around or redoing the same thing, like I've got to like listen to something.
Have you maxed out your saves yet?
No, why?
I have.
Okay.
I have to reload. I have to rewrite different saves because I was creating a new save point every time, and I've maxed out.
I've not done that at all.
I've saved so much. Every time I can, especially in that mansion, because of Rubik, every time I got another brain, I went right to that save room and saved again.
I mean, I did that too, but I just saved over the same... I just save over one save, dude.
I've learned from other games that you can soft lock yourself by doing that. I've learned from Resident Evil that if you don't save over, or if you keep saving over the same save, all of a sudden you're going to use all the ammo, and the next boss fight will be completely impossible, and then you're just dead, and then the game's over for you.
Well,
because you can't progress. So I've learned from those kind of games where I save 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I'm on like save 37 is having to take over save 12, and just save often and save in different places.
Sure. I don't know. I like to keep the one canonical save. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing that if I felt like I was in a precarious situation.
Correct.
Like if I'm close to running out of ammo or something. Like I was in a really bad place. I might be in a really bad place now, still, honestly, at the end of chapter 10, because I pumped all of my ammo into that stupid spider monster to kill her. And it took a bunch of fire arrows, it took a bunch of electricity arrows, it took a whole bunch of shotgun shells to the face. So I've depleted a lot of resources fighting her. So hopefully that will not bite me in the ass. But, I wouldn't do it any other way.
What did you think of the boss fight after that?
Well, that one you just kind of have to run away from and pump. Yeah, by that point, I'm basically like, I've got a little bit of handgun ammo left, but yeah, I've pumped everything into the bosses. Second boss was... he was really straightforward. He was very straightforward. Very simple.
So I was trying different things on it. I died 2 or 3 times to him, but I loved the way I died to it.
Yeah?
The different way. So you can sneak around, and that's what I finally did the third time. Is you can get out of his sight and then wait for his eye thing to pop out and shoot the eye thing, and that makes him vulnerable for a minute. But the first time I died, I was in such shock. I ran around the corner and hid under a car. That's what I thought this boss was you just had to find a way to, because he was breaking stuff around me. So I'm like, okay, you just have to distract him, have him break something, hide for a little bit, and then do this over and over, and then he'll eventually open up a path or whatever. And I hid under a car, and apparently he jumps on the car because it starts shaking. And I didn't realize he was on it. I just figured he was around, so everything was shaking. And all of a sudden, the camera turned, and he just squishes the whole car with me underneath it, and the blood goes everywhere. It's like, all right, that was neat. Thanks, game. And then I died later by hiding in a room, and he reached out and grabbed me and bounced me against the walls a few times.
Oh, man. The best way... freezing him is the best thing to do. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I only had enough for 2 of those.
Well, that was my problem. So. As I said, I had depleted most of my arrows. Yeah. So I had like 2 freezing bolts left, and I had depleted everything else pretty much. So that worked incredibly well. And then I kind of just had to. I think I even used a sniper rifle, which was not ideal in this situation. But
I did too. I think I depleted my sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Which hopefully doesn't hurt us later. But I was the same way. As I was trying to aim for the faces on that creepy thing.
Yep.
So it's actually really interesting to me. I think it's sold me a little bit more, and it's made you dislike the game more. This section of the game. Yeah. Where are you sitting in this game?
Well, I still like the look of it. I have a difficult time being invested in the story. I'm pleased that you're following the story more than I am, because at least that means somebody's covering it. Because I'm just kind of checked out during the story stuff, and I'm getting very frustrated with certain aspects of it. Like, I just don't like insta-kill stuff. I didn't like how tight the spider boss fight was, where you have to kind of, I got to run to this room, turn right, shoot the valve, turn left, shoot the valve. Run through this door, shoot the third valve. Then I gotta run around and evade her for like 30 seconds while the fire dies down. Run through, drop down. Like, I spent about 3 or 4, no, I'm exaggerating, maybe 3 hours. Yeah. I spent about 3 hours, I think, on that boss fight.
Wow. I would get sick of it too at that point.
Yeah, and
what's your playtime at right now?
About 10 hours.
Okay, so I think you're maybe an hour ahead of me.
Yeah, but it's not
maybe less than that.
It's not counting.
I'm 9 something.
So it's not counting the many reloads, but it is counting the hours that I was lost. So I'm probably going to be way behind you in terms of playtime, because I've got hours of just wandering around in this game now. So you're probably going to beat me if we were in a playtime competition of who can beat this game faster.
Honestly, for me, that seems to be the case anyways. Like, setting up games for this, we always look on howlongtobeat.com, and I always seem to beat that thing. But again, I always think I'm checking every nook and cranny, and then at the end it's like, oh, there's 40 keys in the game. I got 7.
You're missing a ton of stuff, and you didn't actually kill that, but you just were into the elevator, right?
I did. I did not kill the spider lady, but again, I knocked down Safe Boy 110 times,
right? So
that made up for it.
Fair enough.
And I like killing the big creep at the end of chapter 10. Gave you 20,000 goop.
That was a good goop.
I've yet to spend it yet. Right after that was the end of the chapter. I hit save and I was done. So I'm excited to spend that goop.
Yeah.
But I'm curious where these final 5 chapters go, because they could go anywhere. Because you have said multiple times, either on this podcast or just talking to me off air, that every chapter is so disjointed from the next.
That's the thing. It's so hard to be invested in it. It's so hard to care for me about it, because it's just, here's a set piece. Here's an unconnected set piece. Here's some obtuse stuff about how, it's all in somebody's head, which it's not like it's inherently, you can set a story in somebody's head and have it count. I mean, Psychonauts exists. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that the way that it comes off to me, I feel very removed from the drama. And That is what has also made it easier for me to say, oh, I'm just going to put on a podcast and not worry so much and try and mitigate whatever. It's not like it's super stressful. The stress really comes from that old-timey survival horror thing where you just don't want to lose progress, where you're just incredibly scared of losing progress at all times and wondering, just cursing the game for not quite checkpointing enough.
Yeah, there's not a ton of checkpoints in this game. There's more than I think are in like the older games. But yeah, there are times where I've died and go, oh, really? Within checkpoints? So that... okay. And then they have to redo the whole thing. So I get it.
I appreciate the boss design. I appreciate the look and feel. I appreciate some of the level design, but I'm just not enjoying playing it very much. Like, I can see that it is a semi-competent game that has some interesting stuff in it, but it is not very fun for me.
I'm disappointed. It's getting a little bit more fun. All of your criticisms, I mostly to completely agree with. I'm more focused now on, at least these last couple of chapters have focused more on the story and bosses. There's a lot less just random enemies. So I'm cool with that. There seems to be a bit more puzzly aspects to the game, which is what I was hoping for.
Yeah, those later, level 10 was a real roller coaster ride of emotion for me. Because not only is it 3 times longer than you expect it to be, with multiple bosses and multiple points where you think it's over and then it's not, but also there are just segments of it that are so painful. And then there are segments of it that are really enjoyable, where there's like great exploration, and there are parts of the level design where it surprises and delights you with, kind of turns or looping back around on an area that you don't expect. And I like that a lot. But then there's also stuff like, now crawl through these, just run away from the sky and crawl through these explodey wires. Though I guess that did have, I really like the part of that set piece where you're running away from Ruvik and you come to the corridor of giant skulls that starts to kind of come together to crush you. And you've got to just make it through it.
Yeah.
That was a visually very cool moment. But mostly
it was a way over the top thing. Yeah. I liked it.
That's I think I like this game best when it's being really grandiose. Like when it's doing the big visual, unique, really kind of messed up things. That's when I'm liking it. Like it almost has that sweary, Deadly Premonition vibe with some of that stuff.
So you just wish it was going more over the top.
Oh, I love the over the top stuff.
Yeah.
I love the corridor of skulls. I love all the giant...
Hey.
Whenever you give me just a river of blood or something, just a grandiose... When there is a point where horror becomes so grandiose that it's just, like if you contrast the new Evil Dead with the old Evil Dead. There's some shots at the end of the new Evil Dead where it just goes to a level of epic, both in the cinematography and the music, that it's not really horror anymore. It's triumphant, I want some more.
There's a chance. There's a chance with these last 5 chapters that we get a lot more of that. So
yes, I want this to get like Bayonetta level crazy.
That would be awesome.
That's the thing that I would like to see.
So obviously we don't have scores yet. And I don't want you to give away a score.
No, we can't give a score.
No, but my question to you before we wrap this up, if you had a score in mind after our first part, has that score gone up or down in these last 5 chapters?
Oy. I think it has dipped a tiny bit. I think the more time I spend with the game, the less time I want to spend with the game anymore.
Right.
That's the real... I think I'm just burning out on it.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And I think I've gone up a little bit. Luckily, I haven't had any game-breaking bugs like I did in the first part. I honestly think these last 5 chapters will go by quicker.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as far as a bit, who knows? We could end up with a 4-hour chapter in this, and it wouldn't fully surprise me, I guess. So that's the one thing about playing these games and having no clue is we come up with things, but I do believe we should be able to do these last 5 chapters. I've been able to do 5 chapters each part, but we will see.
Mm-hmm. And the good news is I've got Assassin's Creed out of the way.
So,
it's done so.
And like we were saying off air, if for some reason these are longer, it gives us an extra reason to push Cyberpunk back, because that's the next game we were going to cover.
Would you want to push it back?
Well, as far as our first episode goes, it would give Cyberpunk more time before our first episode.
That's true.
Because our first part right now is kind of it's going to be a first look thing. Because I want to say, when does that thing come out? Now I'm blanking. November 19th, and that episode will come out a week later.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll give us more than a week to kind of give a first look on Cyberpunk. But hopefully we'll get through all of Evil Within before the next part. If you're playing along with us, let us know at @chapter_select of what you think of the Evil Within. And if you followed what I told you to do in the first part, you've beaten the game, which we did not do. And let us know what you think of it
sorry
so
about that.
far.
We tried.
Oh, by the way, Jens, if you count in our movie stuff, this is chapter 10. This is our 10th episode together.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
Congratulations.
It's not chapter 10. We're not counting. We're not numbering the movie.
I'm going to count them both now, and then when we hit chapter 10 on just the games one, I'm not going to count the movies. So we're going to have anniversaries all over the place.
Yeah, I don't like this double anniversary. I really think at the movies is just a spin-off show and is not a official chapter.
But still, this is the 10th chapter, not 10th chapter, 10th episode overall that you've done with me, and you haven't fired me yet. So far, so good.
Yeah, you also have not kicked me off yet. So that's something.
Well, that is because with our next chapter select at the movies, Jens, you and I are going to look at Ace Attorney.
Yes.
And that's why I can't get rid of you, is because you're picking movies like that. So if you want to hear what we have to say about that hidden gem, especially in the States, check that out next Friday for our third chapter of At the Movies. And we will finish up, hopefully, The Evil Within at chapter 9 in 2 weeks. And that'll be right around the time new systems come out. Jens, you and I hopefully will be able to talk about whether our consoles from Amazon showed up on time or not.
Yep. That'll be the big question.
And yeah, it's a crazy time. It's snowing all around me right now.
Really?
Luckily, where I live, it's not yet, because I live in a valley, and we usually don't get as much snow as around us. But I want to say just 2 hours away from me got 6 inches of snow in the last couple days.
Randy, have you been playing nothing but Evil Within these last 2 weeks?
Oh, we did not do a what have you been playing?
We haven't yet.
You are totally right. This is what happens when neither of us do a show notes thing.
Well, it's fun.
I've played very little video games. It's just like I've gotten hooked. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Taskmaster, the British thing.
I've not.
My girlfriend and I are hooked on that show. Have you ever seen the show Impractical Jokers here?
Nope.
Okay. If somebody said it kind of reminds them of that. It's just comedians doing ridiculous tasks and getting scored for it. But the British humor always gets to me. I love that kind of stuff. And every season's only like 5 or 6 episodes long. And then they move on to another cast. So it always is fresh. So we've been hooked on that.
Okay.
So it's been Evil Within, and I've played a bit of Crash 4. I'm probably 35% in completion. I still have a long ways to go.
Yep.
Just honestly, gaming in the last 2 weeks has been kind of in the background for me. We're moving a lot of stuff in the house. My son is going to move his room into our basement, and my daughter is going to go into his room, and then we're going to turn her room into a little office, which will allow me more of a recording area where I'm not taking over people's rooms or trying to find little nooks and crannies where my audio doesn't sound like crap. So a lot of busy work going on. So video games have kind of been in the background. What about you? I want to hear what you've been playing.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm glad we don't have that much, so it's not so bad that we didn't talk about it in the beginning. I'm just happy to have wrapped up Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I made a concerted effort to do that because Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer was coming out.
Have you played that yet?
I played the tutorial. I really wanted to play more of that, but I realized that going back and forth between Assassin's Creed and that my brain could not handle the button remapping between those two games.
Right.
Because they're basically the same damn game, but with vastly different button mapping.
That's the worst.
So I just realized, oh no, my Assassin's Creed muscle memory is completely fucking me up on Ghost of Tsushima. So
I'm trying to remember when that mostly happened to me. I want to say it was a Metal Gear Solid game and then like a Call of Duty game or whatever. So like one button on one game would be to hide for cover and the other one would throw a grenade.
Yeah, exactly. So that's happening.
Yeah.
That was happening to me a lot. So I basically just said, okay, I need to like hunker down and finish this Assassin's Creed game. And yeah, I guess the less said about it, the better. It's an Assassin's Creed game. It's got the kind of Dark Souls-ish type of combat. Though it also has I didn't realize this, I think the last time we talked about it. It kind of took me halfway through this darn game to realize that the roll gives you like a Bayonetta type witch time where the time slows down a bit and you then can do more damage while in this kind of perfect dodge mode. So once I realized that, it became a lot easier, though the enemies are still kind of sponges. You have to hack at them a long time. The level scaling still sucks. Though once I got to the point where I was wealthy enough that I could just upgrade all my legendary stuff to be my, the level which I currently am, it suddenly became a lot more manageable, and I could kind of just mainline the campaign and then do the DLCs and put a bow on it.
Nice.
Man, I did not care for that game very much. It was very pretty. The story was okay. The protagonist is really fun. I like Cassandra a lot. She's probably the best thing about the game. Outside of generally the presentation of it is really nice. But man, it's just, normally I have no problem. It seems weird to complain about an abundance of content, but I just think these Assassin's Creed games would be so much better off if they offered a tight 20 or 30 hours rather than a very repetitive 100+ hours.
Yeah, I'm sort of trying to remember. I have Origins that I barely played, but I'm trying to remember the last. I think Black Flag. I think we talked about it before. I think Black Flag was the last one I've played a bunch.
Oh, well, they've gotten much, much bigger.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
Which has made it easier for me to just pass on it. So again, I the next time that we're talking, I guess it's in 2 weeks or 2 episodes from now, the next time we're talking, there's a good chance that we have one, if not both, of our new systems come in. Obviously, Cyberpunk is one. I want to hear, before we wrap this up, 3 games that are scheduled to come out at the end of 2020 that are on Jens's must-play list.
Okay, so I'm obviously playing Demon's Souls. That is item number 1. Other than that, Yakuza 7 I'm obviously going to play. And trying to think if there is a third one. A Cyberpunk, I guess. That would be, though that's not really a next-gen game, ironically. I don't think the next-gen patch is going to come for a while.
No, it's just playable on the new system.
Yeah, but, hopefully I'll get some sort of upscaling out of it. I'm going to be getting that on the Xbox.
So for me, it is Spider-Man Miles Morales is by far the main one that I have to play. I'm interested in Demon's Souls, and I'll probably pick it up just because...
Yes, you should, so we can do some co-op.
So we can... I want you to help me through that game. And I'm kind of actually interested in Sackboy.
Okay. You like platformers.
I love platformers, and it just seems like one of those games that is a turn on for 20 minutes and goof around with for a little bit. Like, I'm not going to get super invested in it. And just, okay, I'm going to go collect this. And with the new trophy tracking stuff that PlayStation 5 looks like they're doing, it looks like a lot of that goes with that. So I'm kind of interested in it. We'll give it a shot, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I do love, just to go into like video game news, that what is the is that action or the Destruction Derby game?
PlayStation All-Stars Bumper something or other.
Whatever the hell it's called. I love the fact that they delayed that to February and are making it a PlayStation Plus game.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
Only for the fact of I was never going to play it. Destruction All-Stars, I think is what it's called.
Sure.
I was not going to be a game I got on launch. It's just not my kind of thing. But you give it to me for free in February, and maybe you get a Fall Guys / Rocket League thing where a bunch of people play it, and then you just have fun with it. It's that, from the looks of that game, that's another one of those just goof off with friends kind of a thing. And it looks well made, and it's better than that horror. Do you want to play that horror game with me?
Which one?
The thing that's all over Twitch right now. Hold on, I gotta look up what the hell it's called, because Robert Taylor wanted me to play it, and it looks...
you mean the one that sounds like Phantasmagoria, but it's not Phantasmagoria?
Yeah. That looks like PlayStation 2 games would laugh at it.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really know anything about it.
I've only seen clips, and it looks like the graphics are terrible, but I've heard it's really fun. So, but those are the kind of games. It's again, Among Us, we've had lots of fun with. Fall Guys, we've had lots of fun with, or I've had lots of fun with. I know you hated that game.
Yep.
So a game about destruction derby and over the topness, I definitely would get in, or I would give it a try, especially for free. And I think it was smarter for them to do that anyways, because
But that's not this year, so it should not be on your this year list.
No. I was just saying that came out as we were recording this today, and made me think of it. So
yeah, well, I don't know yet if I'm going to get Spider-Man or if I'm going to get Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
No, I'm definitely not Assassin's, especially with us playing Cyberpunk. Absolutely no chance I'm getting Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I might. I guess Far Cry 6 not until next year, right?
Correct.
I may have to just get that for co-op reasons, even though I'm not really a fan of Far Cry anymore. Anyway, yeah, there's definitely enough exciting exclusives to make me excited for both new consoles. Ironically, Yakuza being the launch day exclusive for the Xbox, while Demon's Souls. I mean, that's who would have thunk, right? That we're gonna get the next gen Yakuza on Xbox before we get it on PlayStation.
I've attempted to make you delay playing that so we could do it for the podcast before, but I can't stop you from playing your Yakuza, and that's okay. All right, so let's end this up. You can
yes. At Isabel, at Aperture Silence.
Yep. There you go.
At chapter_select. Until next time.
Goodbye.